it's that type of life that we're living these days, where
Wow.
it's not a case of whatever happens on one side of the world, the other side of the world doesn't know. We are all
Mm,
interconnected. I will know what is happening, for example, in Asia. I would know what
yeah,
is happening in Europe, just like I would know what is happening in the US. So
right.
I think maybe Americans also need to start tuning in and really educating themselves in knowing about what is happening in the rest of the world, because
Yeah.
we've got the internet now. You can
Hmm.
Google stuff and watch YouTube, just like some people will be watching this
Yes.
episode just to learn more about what is
Hmm.
happening on another side of the world, vis-a-vis where they live and the norms that they are used to versus the norms of other cultures and other countries.
Yeah, no, that's so well said. And I'm even reminded in you sharing that of how when I was there, when we were there, we realized how global the mindsets of South Africans are. And oftentimes Americans were so nationally knowledgeable, if that, right? We just may be locally knowledgeable.
Mm,
However,
mm,
nationally or internationally, we may be missing out on a lot of good information, a lot of cultural differences, and the
mm,
realization of how others do life around the world. And so, even while being here, living here again, I'm shared with Chrystle. Like, I want to make sure that at least once a week that I'm aware of what's going on globally around the world because things are changing, policies are changing, presidents are
mm.
changing, prime ministers are
Yeah,
changing. So many different
yeah.
things are changing, and it has effects globally. But more than anything, it allows for us to know
Mm,
and to see what's happening with
mm.
our fellow brothers and sisters around the world.
Yeah,
Now,
yeah.
even in that light and down that road, I know you've had the ability to host a couple of people or people in general that have visited SA. And so, even
Mhm.
from that perspective, how was it for them when they were able to see the different things you were able to show them? What was it like for them as they sat in the car and they saw the different sites that you showed them? What was their reaction? What was their impressions?
So I mean, firstly, I mean, I think they were very apprehensive. They didn't know what
Okay.
to expect, the
Right.
anxiety that they had. So when I picked them up from the airport, obviously when they saw me, they felt, I think, some level of comfort that, this
Yes.
person, yeah,
I know
at least,
him.
yeah, at least we've got someone that we can trust. Because
Yeah.
what I did is before they came, I had a Zoom call
Nice.
twice,
Nice.
on two occasions where we connected before they
Mm-hmm.
came, where they
Mm-hmm.
were just asking me questions about, security, things such as, what to expect, the
Mm-hmm.
food, we have clean water.
Mm-hmm.
They were been asking, things such as the plug points, what type of plugs we're using. They're bringing iPhones. Will they be able to charge their phones? So there
Mm-hmm.
was a lot of information that I or any other person may take for granted that they were, oblivious to. They were like thinking,
Okay.
we don't know where we're going to. We don't know
Wow.
what to expect. So I had to coach them before they
Yes.
came so that by the time they come, they know exactly, what they needed to prepare for. So
Yes.
when they did arrive, I picked them up and, during the journey between the airport and the hotel, we had a conversation
Yes.
just to get to know each other even better.
Yes.
Because we obviously met over the Zoom calls.
Boom. Mm-hmm.
And yeah, so I mean, I gave them information about the country, just the lay of the land,
Yeah.
just to acclimatize them and induct them into, what South Africa is about.
Mm-hmm.
But what really interested me was some of the things that take place in South Africa, like traffic, like when we're sitting
Yes.
in driving style. When I was driving them around the following day, when I picked them
Yes.
up to take them on a tour,
Mm-hmm.
some of the observations that they had, they were like, wow, do South Africans really do that? And I was like, yeah, well, it's normal. We do this, in this country, it's normal.
Yes.
And improvise, for
Yep.
example, I mean, you spoke about taxis
Mm-hmm.
in some of your episodes, and they were asking about those type of things,
Yes.
skipping the traffic lights and things like
Uh-huh.
that.
Uh-huh.
These are things that don't necessarily happen often, but you will have some delinquents, that will do such things. And
Yeah.
they were fascinated. They were like, wow, did that person just do that? And I'm like, yeah, 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 yeah. These things do happen,
It's
You know, you do find bad apples here and there, but
Yes.
as a country, we've got laws, we've got
Mm-hmm.
policies, as you mentioned, and things
Yep.
that really govern us so that we behave in a certain manner. And
Mm-hmm.
you know, the country, I must say, they were surprised that it's well run, it's
Yeah.
developed, you know, there's
Yep.
infrastructure. And they were also shocked and surprised that some of the franchises, you know, the chain
Yes.
retailers and stores
Yes.
and
Yep.
restaurants are here. I mean,
Yes.
they saw Burger King, they saw
Uh-huh.
McDonald's.
Yep.
I'm like,
KFC,
wow, you guys have got
Pizza
this.
Hut.
Your
Yep.
KFC, Pizza Hut, and they
Mm-hmm.
wanted to try those as well. And I
Yes.
said, go for it because maybe it tastes different from
It
from
is
what you
different.
guys consume in the US. So maybe it's worth a try so that you
Mm-hmm.
taste what the version of South Africa tastes like. But
Yes.
the other thing that they were fascinated about, I took them to Nando's.
Okay.
Now, a lot of people don't know that Nando's is a South African chain. You know, it's not a
Yeah.
Portuguese chain, it's a South African chain, which has
Mm-hmm.
always grown to other countries like in Europe and the
Mm-hmm.
US. And
Yep.
when I told them this information, they're like, wow, you know?
Uh-huh.
And when I kept on educating them during the days when I was taking them on tour,
Mm-hmm.
they were quite surprised that, you know, there were so many things, or good things rather, that came from South Africa that they were not aware of. I mean,
Yeah.
for example, Elon Musk was born in South Africa. You know, he's a South
Yes.
African. He comes
Yes.
from Pretoria. His father was on one of the podcasts. There's a guy who's quite popular in South Africa,
Okay.
MacG. We call him MacG. That's
Okay.
the name that he goes by. And MacG featured, you know, Elon Musk's father. He's very
Mm-hmm.
Afrikaans.
Mm-hmm.
And he was talking to MacG about, you know, obviously raising Elon and, you know, the history of the family and the
Mm-hmm.
fact that they don't really have a great relationship, etc. And
Mm-hmm.
these are things that fascinated them. They're like, wow, we didn't know that
Yeah.
South Africa had so many jewels and so many
Yes.
good things about
Yes.
the country.
Yes.
And unfortunately, what they were saying to me is that the reason why they were asking so many questions when we had the Zoom calls before they came is
Mhm.
that the perception that was created or that has been created in
For
the
sure.
US about South Africa and Africa in its
Yes.
entirety
Yes.
is very, very bad.
Yep.
It's very bad. So a lot of African Americans don't even think about coming to the continent.
Mm-hmm.
And thanks to YouTube, that you know, you guys now see South Africa and Africa, you know, from a
Mm-hmm.
different light and from a different perspective.